Hi there, and thank you for joining me today. My name is Zach Buckles, and today we will be reviewing key findings from the Center on International Education Benchmarking's report on professional learning in high-performing international school systems. As we explore these key findings, we will be able to identify success criterion for effective professional learning systems that are utilized by British Columbia, Shanghai, and Singapore. As we discover the systems and supports that promote professional learning, we will also be able to reflect on our current system and identify small changes that might be made. Consider the following questions throughout today's presentation. What systems promote effective professional learning? What is the relationship between adult professional learning and student success? What changes can we make to our system to promote more effective professional growth and accountability? For many of us, we know that job-embedded professional learning opportunities are critical to our continued growth as professionals and as lifelong learners. We also know that we work incredibly hard to deliver quality instruction for our students in a safe, productive, and welcoming environment. And we also know that we are tasked with educating all students, regardless of identity, socioeconomic status, or ability. But when we review political speaking points, evening news programs, and international student performance reports, we are confronted with data that may challenge our work as professionals. Regardless of the nuanced punditry that we are confronted with, the data shows that American students are 22 months behind high-performing international schools in reading, with deeper losses in mathematics and science. This report aimed to look into the systems of support for professionals in international communities whose students outperform our own. And what the report found were strong, intentional systems that treated educators as professionals, prioritizing continued professional growth and innovation, and integrating accountability with career advancement and cultural appreciation for the profession. We know that student learning is what drives us. Effective adult learning should be driven by this motivation. What good is professional learning if we cannot turn it around and use it to improve the lives and the rates of success for our students? We also know that we need time, leadership, and systems to hold each other accountable for success, though the degree to which our system supports and prioritizes our professional growth and innovation is varied. And I imagine that each of us may have different opinions about the respect and support provided to teachers in our current climate. In the NCEE report, British Columbia, Shanghai, and Singapore developed systems to prioritize and support student learning. Professional requirements, learning, and advancement are directly tied to student outcomes. These communities leverage professional learning by protecting time, aligning evaluation and accountability systems, and developing tiered career advancement opportunities. All of these tools are built to support student learning outcomes. School improvement is organized around effective adult learning. Roles are created to lead professional growth and innovation. Systems recognize and value teacher expertise. Teachers and leaders are responsible for student learning outcomes and teacher growth. And finally, professional learning is an integral part of daily professional duties. Before we explore these international systems, let's take a moment to think about the system in which we currently operate. So what does professional learning and collaboration look like for us? What do we know about these features in the system that exists for us and our students? Ask yourself these authentic questions. How often do I plan with my colleagues? How often do I research new pedagogical approaches to teaching and learning? Do I pre-assess students? What do I do with the data after I collect them? How often have I presented to my colleagues and engaged in action research? We also know that we work in professional learning communities, and in our PLCs, our work is governed by 4 essential questions posed by Eaker and Dufour. What is it we expect students to learn? How will we know when they've learned it? How will we respond when they do not? And how will we respond if they already know it? This is the work that governs our PLCs and collaboration cycles as we continue to examine student data and plan in response. Challenges to professional learning and collaboration in the United States are many. The truth is, American educators work hard, laborious hours. As you asked yourself questions on the previous slides, you probably asked yourself a litany of rhetorical questions. When am I supposed to get that done? What am I supposed to do between IEP, 504, parent-teacher conferences, PLCs, phone calls home, and required professional learning meetings? When are you going to give me time? What help are you going to give me to get this done? These are valid questions. I'm sure it would surprise you to know that American teachers provide 27 hours of direct instruction on average. In comparison, our colleagues in Singapore and Shanghai provide 17 to 20 hours of direct instruction. What is done with the additional 7 to 10 hours a week? High-quality professional learning and mentorship is embedded in the work week with strong accountability systems in place to ensure meaningful work is occurring for teachers so that they, in turn, can help their students. The system does not provide you with the time or the high level of support to accomplish these goals. Our current system does have a bureaucracy of teaching and learning specialists who help design professional learning, design and provide curriculum updates, vet new software, and introduce new pedagogical approaches to learning en masse. But how often are we meeting with them to support the needs of our students in our classrooms? In truth, most of us view collaboration in PLC as a separate activity from teaching. 70% of U.S. teachers report that they actively cooperate in collaboration. Only 17%, however, indicate that their colleagues actively cooperate during the collaboration cycle. 40% of teachers have never co-taught a class, conducted peer observation or feedback cycles, or led professional development. Many of us have thought about the commitment our colleagues or specialists invest in learning. But what if professional learning meant conducting peer observations or holding a mastery demonstration lesson viewed by colleagues? How many of us trust that the colleague to the left and to the right of us are doing a great job? How would we even know? The majority of participants indicate that professional learning needs are not differentiated and do not meet our needs. A one-size-fits-all approach is common and does not respect our professionalism as educators. We need opportunities to observe one another, to provide feedback with one another, to share data with one another, and to engage in action research with one another for our students. This is a model that is shown to us by Singapore and Shanghai and British Columbia, and one that provides us with a pathway to develop a highly effective system. The report we're reviewing today focuses on 4 key areas to support professional learning in high-performing systems. 1. Explicit expectations. High-performing systems are clear in their success criteria and value teachers as professionals. Accountability standards are directly tied to career advancement and performance assessment. Teachers are supported in systems that are designed to build mentorship, instructional leadership, and professional learning. And finally, high-performing systems protect time and prioritize professional learning for both strategic and protected work schedules. Explicit expectations. What do opportunities for effective professional learning and collaboration look like in these high-performing international schools? Well, high-performing international schools in British Columbia, Shanghai, and Singapore design systems to prioritize and support professional learning with tight criterion for success and loose criterion for implementation, giving autonomy and respecting the professionalism of teachers in their divisions, career advancement and accountability structures anchored to effectiveness, action research-oriented professional learning and mentorship opportunities, and finally, support structures that enable systemic growth throughout their teaching community. If we look to high-performing systems like British Columbia, Shanghai, and Singapore, we would see systems whose foundations are built on professional learning for educators. Career advancement cannot occur without accountability measures, ensuring that students and colleagues benefit from the supports and resources from those that are eligible for promotion. The criterion for success are tight. Strong outcomes for adult learners and their students. The implementation, however, varies from community to community. But one thing remains true. Professional advancement is tied directly to their effectiveness in collaboration, mentorship, and action research. In both British Columbia and Singapore, student assessment drives professional learning and relates back to what we know about the questions asked of us by Eaker and DeFore's commitments to the professional learning community process. What do structures look like in high-performing communities? Leaders are expected to know their schools, their strengths and weaknesses, and the quality of their professional learning programs in Shanghai, Singapore, and British Columbia. School leaders align strategic objectives for teacher learning, the plan to approach them, and the supports to ensure goals are met. When we think of our plan for continuous improvement, how often are we invited to the table with school leadership to design it? Do you know the school-wide data and your role in achieving the goals created? What do you need to achieve those goals? In Singapore, answers to questions like these are outlined by total learning plans. Heads of departments, similar to our instructional leadership team, instructional specialists, and school leadership complete a work review to review student data and to take into consideration teacher strengths, areas of improvement, and expressed professional learning needs. The role of the school staff developer, a position unique in Singapore, assists these teams in creating and implementing the total learning plan. To become a school staff developer, master teachers are required to participate in a 5-month preparatory program to acquaint them with the tools, adult learning strategies, and systems that are required to support professional learning, coaching, and mentorship. Expectations for excellence are clearly communicated, and the system is aligned in the objectives and action steps necessary to support student and teacher growth. Outside of Singapore, Shanghai created a promotion system based upon the capacity to develop staff and accountability to show effectiveness. Average teachers teach 10 to 12 hours per week, with professional development and collaboration cycles contributing to the rest of the work week. And in British Columbia, they prioritize a system for adult learning by allocating 2 class periods a week for formal professional development. These systems of support help them explicitly design learning programs to promote teacher learning. Accountability. Accountability in the profession relies on quality instruction and professional learning, which are not mutually exclusive of one another. Student test scores alone do not show us the effectiveness of teachers. In fact, in Singapore and Shanghai, teacher evaluation systems also rate student outcomes, collaboration, and professional learning. Professional learning and collaboration are the best way to improve student learning. Career advancement opportunities are directly linked to these 3 factors. In each of these case studies, the career track criterion are exhaustive, but opportunities for promotion outside of administration are expansive. In fact, 1 master teacher is hired for every 1,000 teachers in Shanghai. These teachers are experts in pedagogy and content and must research, publish, and present to maintain status. Promotion is contingent upon peer feedback, supervisor feedback, mastery demonstration lessons, published papers, and professional learning delivered. Schools are held accountable by external observation teams in Shanghai. External teams consist of educators and community members who collect data on the quality of instruction, student engagement, and community feedback. If a Shanghai school is not implementing an effective learning program to support its teachers, 2 repercussions are possible. Government intervention with learning and objectives taken from the school, or credits are denied to teachers engaged in professional learning that might count towards their promotion until the school is able to satisfy all accountability standards outlined by the school, the division, and the country. Student learning is what matters most and is a key indicator of effective professional learning. In each of the high-performing systems examined in this report, only teachers who effectively develop both themselves and their colleagues will rise to leadership positions in the system. In each of the systems explored, teacher promotion is directly linked to positive outcomes for both student and teacher. Many opportunities exist in multiple tracks, but accountability drives the ability for teachers to matriculate into higher positions, whether they be administrative, curricular, or instructional. Each of the school systems collect data for accountability purposes. What do they collect? Well, They look at student performance data on standardized and school-based assessments. They conduct interviews and focus groups with staff, students, parents, and stakeholders. They collect classroom observation data, review school documentation, similar to our plans for continuous improvement, performance management data, that is, teacher appraisal, and finally, informal professional judgments informed by their many years in education. For schools that do not meet accountability standards in Shanghai, Shanghai contracts high-performing schools who are then asked to turn around performance in low-performing schools within 2 years. Administration and instructional leadership teams meet with the low-performing school and develop a plan of action informed by the strategies and supports designed by the professional learning plan in use in a higher-performing school. System support. In our school and in our division, we have a new teacher mentorship program. You may have benefited from it, but I want you to think back on that experience. Were you given the opportunity to observe another teacher? Were you given time to research a strategy that another teacher used or suggested? Did your mentor lead instruction or co-teach with you? How often did you engage in a coaching cycle with mentors or specialists? You see, I believe we have the resources to make this happen, but we lack a system that explicitly provides opportunities for all of us to engage in professional learning outside of traditional sit-and-get experiences. In Shanghai and Singapore, mentors exist as separate roles or positions in the system, or those fulfilling the role have reduced instructional responsibilities to support their mentees and colleagues. They have tiered mentoring systems, cascading systems of seniority in teaching based upon effectiveness and accountability. The criterion are so stringent that less than 0.5% are promoted to master teacher in Shanghai, the highest level of promotion eligible for educators. Mentoring requires every teacher to keep learning and exploring and teaching and to research higher innovation teacher methods. The cycle of observation, assessment, and feedback, the coaching cycle, is embedded within Shanghai's mentorship programs to support teachers. If we take a look at beginning teachers in Shanghai high schools, you'll notice a very robust mentorship and accountability system for first year. Beginning teachers in Shanghai go through an exhaustive preparatory program at university, and the learning continues in their first year at the school they are assigned. During this process, beginning teachers observe mentors once a week, complete reflections, and open their classroom to mentors at least once per term. They participate in many research projects around pedagogy and must publish in their community teaching journal or present findings to their colleagues. But the community values its teachers and builds support, pay, and respect for educators to ensure that the best educators are prepared and retained to teach children. I want you to think on the responsibilities and opportunities you received in your career. How many of you have traveled out of state or out of country to engage in professional learning opportunities? What workshops have you attended? Were you provided opportunities to return to the professional learning community after implementing those new strategies? Did you use your own student data to engage in the learning process? These international communities expect a lot from their educators, but also place value on their work and provide them with a litany of opportunities to engage in action research and learning opportunities that extend beyond the four walls of their classroom. Teachers meeting criterion for master teacher in both Singapore and Shanghai are accountable for conducting their own research, providing holistic feedback for growth, joining a tiered mentorship program, designing curriculum and leading professional learning, and they are engaged in pedagogical and subject expertise that eventually becomes published and recognized by their colleagues. To continue onward for master teacher, only 50% make it through committee. To attain the role of principal master teacher, only 0.5 move beyond. In British Columbia, the experiences of teachers may look more familiar to us, including the amount of time spent on direct instruction. However, schools make use of the spiral of inquiry model to extend adult learning and collaboration. Professional learning opportunities operate as inquiry groups and spiral back on data and pedagogy to engage in professional learning. 2 instructional periods are reserved each week to engage in this cycle. Educators and inquiry groups move forward with an area of interest often informed by their student data. As a group, they research new strategies, implement and collect data while conducting peer observations, learning walks, and debriefs. Each quarter, they present their findings to the staff and the division so that the broader community benefits from their action research cycle. The spiral of inquiry in British Columbia begins with a hunch and data that supports a question. Teachers reflect and identify deeply held beliefs and place those on the table about their own practices and focus on practices which are something that can be controlled. Teachers are asked to check assumptions for accuracy before moving ahead. The team brainstorms possibilities and focus on new practices that may be more effective than current strategies. They engage in 2 to 4 week action research cycles with intention and review their findings at the end of a unit or assessment. Taking that data, they plan next steps which cause them to re-examine hunches and explore possibilities, again spiraling back on previously held assumptions and previous data to inform next steps. Their results are shared with the faculty and the community of teachers. Protected time. In Singapore, funds are reserved to provide time for classroom coverage, allowing teachers time to collaborate throughout the week for approximately 7 to 10 hours, differing from the 1 to 2 hours of protected time some schools in our division are able to offer teachers. Teacher appraisal is directly tied to these measures, including student success, engagement, and contributions to professional learning in their school community, and collaboration and mentorship outcomes with their colleagues. I want you to reflect on the schedule our division used when confronted with COVID-related closures. Mondays were reserved for professional learning and lesson preparation. How did you make use of that time? Is this something you would want to return to? The international communities that protect time for teachers see the benefits for students, and this may be something to consider as we move forward. However, any protected time is balanced with accountability standards, and teachers in these international communities must demonstrate professional learning through research presentation, lesson demonstration, or authentic collaboration mentorship cycles. In Singapore, 100 hours of professional learning are required each year of educators. However, teachers are able to map their professional learning plan and were offered loose opportunities to engage between workshops, collaboration with colleagues, learning walks, and other forms of professional learning. What it takes is a cultural shift that encourages teachers to consider professional learning as a privilege as opposed to a requirement, a privilege to be sought after to continue their learning for students. Teachers are, comparative to the peers around the world, relatively free to pursue professional learning opportunities throughout the work week and are proud to demonstrate those findings as measured by accountability standards. Next steps. Throughout today's presentation, we learned from various international communities. Systems are built on interrelated components such as time, accountability, and understanding of shared expectations, and teacher support. To move forward, what can we do as a community of educators to continue our learning for student gain? What do we need to change? I would ask us to consider these questions. Are we aligned? And does our work align with the needs of our students and the goals of this division? How can we protect time for professional learning amidst all of our mounting responsibilities here and at home? How can we modify our professional learning system to meet your needs? What are you interested in doing to expand your learning beyond our professional learning lab and the classroom? What support do you need from our specialists? What can we do to help you? While systemic change takes time, support, and policy alignment, there are steps we can take in our building to growing professional learning opportunities. While we can't reduce your direct instructional time by 10 to 12 hours per week like Shanghai and Singapore, we can modify your schedule to ensure common planning time. We can use our substitutes to provide coverage for peer-to-peer observations. We can use our current instructional leadership team to engage in inquiry-based team learning. We can build a robust mentorship program for our incoming teachers with explicit expectations and milestone achievements. But we want to ensure that every decision is aligned to our school goals and the needs of our kids. And for that, we need your help. We need your participation. I can find resources to send you to conferences or provide you with time to tour neighboring schools, but the work must be rooted to the needs of our students and to our community. I've given you many examples and questions to reflect on today, many of which are rooted to work that we are currently engaged in. We know that effective professional learning supports student learning. We know that mentorship, peer observation, and collaboration in our professional learning communities are critical to our success. And we know we are driven by the needs of our students. That data shapes everything we do as a school. Your homework is to think about the small changes we might consider for our professional learning program. How do we build a highly effective system of support for teachers? I look forward to meeting with you at our next instructional leadership team meeting to discuss these ideas, and I am excited to see what we come up with. Thank you for your time today, and I'll see you soon.